If you are a fan of fighting games like Street Fighter, Skullgirls is the game for you. It is available for the Xbox and PS3, and it is one of the most artful and beautiful games I've seen in a while. Dive into this review and I'll show you why you must have sexy times with Skullgirls. Enjoy. As with most fighters, Skullgirls doesn't have much story to it. However, this project was started by two video game fighting experts, one of which wanted to make people actually care for his characters in this video game. And he succeeded. The plot for Skullgirls revolved around 7 girls and their plans to kill the original Skullgirl, who has a skull heart, which grants the killer whatever wish they desire. Although for some reason it only works for girls. Sexist bastards. We men have wishes too, you know. Like beer and sex and more beer, maybe some video games. Shut up. If you haven't noticed already, this game has an art style influenced by anime. Panty shots included. Very classy. Speaking of panty shots, this game already became infamous on the interwebs because of the amount of boobage this deals out. Seriously, even this game's character guide points out the dimensions to all these women. Then again, I'm not gonna bitch about this game's sexualization, because there are games that do a lot worse than this. Looking at you, DOA. Anyway, this game does have a lot of nice touches to it. Even though it doesn't have any voice acting during the animated cutscenes, they still look pretty nice and top-notch. Getting back to the story though, this game does have its touching moments, and it makes you do feel sorry for your characters, as I mentioned before. Painwheel, for example, has had a very rough backstory, and even though I won't spoil it, she doesn't exactly have a happy ending. The fighting mechanics are a lot like you'd play in an arcade game. 6 attacking buttons, your primary objective is to beat the shit out of your opponent until they fall. Or just hide in the corner like a sissy until the time runs out. One thing though is that this game surprisingly only has a roster of 8 characters. But each of them are very, very different enough that it doesn't really matter. It's also understandable since they're all beautifully hand-drawn, as it must have taken months just to create one character. The game's super attacks are no exception to this, and are beautifully drawn and flashy. They range from downright badass to absolutely hilarious to fucking over the top. To surprisingly disturbing.
Tell me where it hurts.
To the just plain, weird. In fact, these characters' backgrounds are so insane that they sound like they came out of a Fooly Cooly episode. Painwheel, for example, is a mutated science experiment with a 4-sided scythe on her tail. Misfortune is a zombie cat girl who can tear her head off and uses a projectile. Parasol is apparently the queen to the fucking German army and can call them whenever she needs them. And she has an umbrella that can shoot fireballs. Go figure. Philia is basically jailbait with a space parasite on her head that can attack for you. And he has a really freaking badass voice. Cerebella, my personal favorite, is a close combat sexy circus freak that can control steroid-induced hands that doubles as her hat. Peacock is quite literally a walking, talking bag of movie and game references. It is armed with missiles, guns, bombs, cigars, and even kitchen sinks. Valentine is a quite curvaceous nurse who probably had gotten her medical license removed for being a crazy ninja bitch. But I'd still hit that. Okay, probably not. Last but not least is Double, who is an alien amoeba thing who can copy any fighter's moves and use them against them, making her very potent in battle, if it even is a her. If you haven't stabbed your eardrums yet from hearing me say this for the millionth time, you're ready to stop him now! Because I love the art style of this game. I'm just surprised on how fluid the animation is for this game. Even during online play, which, at least for the Xbox 360, there's quite a bit of lag, but they'll probably fix that with updates soon. Before I forget to mention this, the music for this game is very jazz-inspired and catchy, which is not surprising since it is by the lead composer of Castlevania. Just listen to it for a second.
Why so down tonight? Just another day that didn't go your way. Well, don't you...
Although not that many, this game does have some negatives, like the small cast of fighters, and the load times which seem to drag on for a while. And then a weird blink and you'll miss it type glitch that involves the hitboxes.
Going down?
All in all, Skullgirls is an interesting game. Not only is it a great fighter, but it has one of the best animations I've seen in a video game for a very long time. And the fan service isn't very bad either. Oh, Valentine, if only you were my nurse. You'd probably stab me to death, but that's a different story. So anyway, Skullgirls gets my rating of 9 out of 10.